Imagine waking up every morning feeling like you're carrying an invisible weight no one else can see. Depression doesn't just steal joy, it steals hope, energy, and the will to keep going. But what if healing didn't always come from a pill bottle? What if there were natural, empowering ways to reclaim your peace, rebuild your strength, and reignite your purpose? You are not broken, you are human, and healing is possible. This journey isn't about quick fixes, it's about transformation. So ask yourself, are you ready to rise beyond the darkness and create a life that feels worth living again? Movement creates momentum. Exercise is medicine for the soul. When the body moves, something powerful awakens within us. It's not just about burning calories or building muscles. It's about shifting stagnant energy that depression often locks inside. The heaviness you feel, the weight pressing against your chest, begins to loosen the moment you choose to move. Even the smallest action, a stretch, a walk around the block, a few minutes of dancing to your favorite song, signals to your brain and body that change is possible. Depression thrives in stillness, in the cycle of inactivity and isolation. But movement breaks that cycle by creating a spark where there was once only darkness. Science shows that exercise releases endorphins, the body's natural antidepressants. These chemicals lift mood, reduce stress, and quiet the storm of negative thoughts. But beyond science, there's a deeper truth. When you move, you prove to yourself that you are capable of action, that you are not entirely controlled by the weight of your emotions. Each step, each repetition, each breath in motion builds a rhythm that begins to carry you forward, even when your mind tells you to stay stuck. The beauty of movement is that it doesn't have to be perfect, intense, or structured. It only needs to be consistent enough to remind you that you are alive, that your body still works, and that your spirit still wants to rise. Exercise becomes a ritual of self-care, a way of reclaiming ownership of your life. The sweat on your skin is proof of your effort, the beating of your heart is proof of your resilience, and the release you feel afterward is proof that healing is possible through the simplest of human acts, moving your body with intention and persistence. Sunlight is nature's antidepressant. Seek it daily. The human body is designed to respond to light, and when natural sunlight touches the skin, it sparks a cascade of changes that directly influence mood, energy, and overall well-being. One of the most important effects is the production of vitamin D, often called the sunshine vitamin, which plays a crucial role in regulating emotions and protecting against the feelings of hopelessness that depression brings. Without enough exposure to sunlight, the body and mind can slip into imbalance, leaving you feeling drained, unmotivated, and disconnected from life itself. Sunlight also impacts serotonin, the neurotransmitter often associated with happiness and calm. A few minutes of light exposure signals the brain to boost serotonin levels, making you feel more focused, stable, and emotionally lifted. That's why stepping outside during the morning or midday sun can feel like a natural reset button. It shifts your chemistry, clears mental fog, and infuses you with renewed energy. The warmth of the sun on your skin can act as a reminder that life still holds comfort and beauty, even when your inner world feels heavy. Seeking sunlight doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as opening your blinds, sitting by a window, or taking a short walk outdoors. Even in colder seasons when the sky is grey, natural light still penetrates and offers its benefits. Making sunlight part of your daily routine creates a rhythm that trains your body and mind to align with the natural cycles of day and night, which in turn improves sleep, balances hormones, and supports emotional resilience. Sunlight is a free, abundant gift from nature, and allowing it to touch you daily is one of the simplest ways to begin lifting the shadows of depression. Gratitude rewires the brain. Count blessings, not burdens. When depression clouds the mind, it has a way of magnifying everything that feels wrong while dimming the light of what is still good. Gratitude is the antidote to that distortion, a deliberate practice of shifting focus from what is missing to what is present. Neuroscience has shown that when you consistently practice gratitude, the brain begins to form new neural pathways that favor positivity, resilience, and hope. What you pay attention to grows stronger, and gratitude teaches your mind to recognize abundance instead of lack. The power of gratitude lies in its simplicity. It doesn't demand grand gestures or perfect circumstances. It thrives in the ordinary moments we often overlook. The warmth of your morning coffee, the kindness of a stranger, the comfort of a familiar song, the softness of your bed at night. Each of these small blessings carries weight when acknowledged. By pausing to notice and name them, you teach your brain to look for good even in the midst of struggle. Over time, this habit can become a shield against despair, reducing the grip of negative thought patterns that depression feeds on. Gratitude is also deeply grounding. Writing down 3 things you are thankful for each day, sharing appreciation with someone you love, or simply whispering a quiet "thank you" before bed connects you to the present moment. It reminds you that despite the pain, life still holds fragments of beauty worth holding on to. Gratitude doesn't erase hardship, but it shifts perspective, allowing hope to coexist with struggle. By counting blessings instead of burdens, you retrain your inner dialogue, replacing despair with a quiet strength that grows each time you choose to see what is still good. Deep breathing resets the nervous system. Pause, inhale, release. In moments of depression and anxiety, the body often shifts into survival mode, where shallow breaths and racing thoughts feed into a cycle of stress. By practicing deep, intentional breathing, you send a powerful signal to your nervous system that it is safe to relax, safe to let go, and safe to find calm again. The simple act of inhaling fully and exhaling slowly begins to regulate heart rate, lower stress hormones, and quiet the storm within the mind. Breath becomes a bridge between the chaos of thought and the stillness of presence. When you pause and breathe deeply, you interrupt patterns of overwhelm. Instead of spiraling into negative emotions, you anchor yourself in the rhythm of your own body. Inhale through your nose, let your lungs expand, hold the breath for a brief moment, and release it slowly through your mouth. This cycle doesn't just oxygenate your body, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural state of rest and restoration. With each breath, the weight pressing on your chest feels a little lighter, the fog in your mind begins to clear, and space opens for peace to flow in. Deep breathing can be practiced anywhere, while lying in bed, sitting at your desk, or walking outside. You don't need equipment, training, or even silence, just the willingness to pause. Making it a daily ritual transforms it from a quick stress relief tool into a healing practice that strengthens resilience. Every inhale is a reminder that life is still moving through you, and every exhale is an opportunity to release tension, fear, and heaviness. Breath is always with you, an ever-present tool for renewal, grounding, and quiet strength. Sleep heals what the mind cannot. Protect your rest. When depression lingers, sleep often suffers, and yet sleep is one of the most powerful tools the body has for recovery and renewal. During deep sleep, the brain clears out toxins, repairs neural connections, and processes emotions that the waking mind struggles to handle. It is in these silent hours that the body restores energy, balances hormones, and rebuilds resilience. Without sufficient rest, even the strongest coping strategies can feel powerless, and simple tasks can become overwhelming because the foundation of healing, the rhythm of sleep, has been disrupted. Protecting your rest means treating sleep as sacred, not optional. Creating a consistent bedtime routine trains your body to recognize when it's time to wind down. Dimming the lights, turning off screens, sipping calming tea, or reading something light can signal to your nervous system that rest is coming. Going to bed and waking up at the same time each day stabilizes your internal clock, making it easier to fall asleep naturally and wake up with more clarity. Small rituals like keeping your room cool, quiet, and dark help set the stage for deeper, more restorative sleep that depression often tries to steal. Sleep is not a luxury, it is medicine. When you prioritize it, You give your body the chance to reset and your mind the opportunity to release what it cannot process during the day. Protecting your rest is an act of self-compassion, a way of saying that your well-being matters. Each night of quality sleep becomes a quiet form of healing, a way to prepare for tomorrow with more strength, more calm, and more hope than you had the day before. Nutrition fuels emotion. Eat foods that bring life, not fog. The connection between what you eat and how you feel is deeper than most realize. Food is more than fuel. It is information that tells your body and brain how to function. When depression takes hold, it often leads to cravings for sugar, processed snacks, or comfort foods that offer temporary relief but leave the mind clouded and the body drained. These foods spike blood sugar, disrupt hormones, and intensify fatigue, feeding the very cycle you are trying to escape. Choosing foods that nourish instead of numb becomes an act of self-care and empowerment. Whole foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and lean proteins provide the nutrients your brain needs to regulate mood and energy. Omega-3 fatty acids from sources like salmon, flaxseed, and walnuts support brain health and reduce inflammation, while complex carbohydrates help stabilize serotonin levels, promoting a sense of calm. Antioxidant-rich foods such as berries, leafy greens, and colorful vegetables combat oxidative stress, which is often linked to depression. Even something as simple as drinking enough water can clear mental fog and improve focus. Each mindful choice you make around food is a message to your body that you are supporting healing from the inside out. Creating balance in nutrition doesn't mean perfection. It's about paying attention to how different foods make you feel: energized, sluggish, calm, or anxious. Eating with awareness transforms meals into opportunities for healing rather than mindless coping. Preparing your own food, savoring each bite, and avoiding overeating are small but powerful ways to take back control. When you consistently choose foods that bring life, your body responds with vitality, and your emotions begin to reflect the clarity and strength you are feeding yourself each day. Nature calms chaos. Walk among trees, feel the earth. In the midst of depression, the mind often feels like a storm that never ends, loud, heavy, and overwhelming. Stepping into nature quiets that storm in ways that four walls cannot. The sound of leaves rustling, the sight of sunlight breaking through branches, the rhythm of your footsteps on soil or grass, all of these elements work together to slow the mind and soothe the body. Research shows that time spent in natural environments lowers cortisol levels, reduces anxiety, and restores a sense of balance that modern life often strips away. Walking among trees reconnects you with something greater than yourself. The stillness of the forest, the patience of the trees, the endless cycle of seasons remind you that life moves in rhythms, and so does healing. When you pause to breathe in fresh air, you are not only nourishing your lungs, but also giving your nervous system a signal of safety and calm. The textures of bark, the scent of flowers, the gentle warmth or coolness of the earth beneath your feet, all engage your senses in the present moment, pulling you away from the relentless noise of depressive thoughts. Even short moments outdoors can create lasting shifts. A 10-minute walk, sitting by a river, or simply standing barefoot on the ground can realign your energy and clear mental fog. Depression often isolates, but nature invites connection with the earth, with the sky, and with the reminder that you are still part of the living, breathing world. Seeking these moments consistently becomes a form of therapy that costs nothing yet restores so much. When you walk among trees and feel the earth beneath you, you rediscover grounding, peace, and a calm that gently silences inner chaos. Journaling frees trapped emotions. Right to release. Depression has a way of filling the mind with unspoken thoughts, heavy feelings, and unresolved memories that circle endlessly without an outlet. When left inside, these emotions can feel suffocating, as if they are pressing against the walls of your chest with no space to escape. Putting pen to paper creates that release. The act of writing transforms invisible weight into visible words. giving shape to feelings that once seemed impossible to understand. Journaling is not about creating perfect sentences or polished stories. It is about honesty, expression, and freedom from the silence within. When you write, you slow down the racing mind and allow emotions to flow in a safe, private space. Thoughts that felt overwhelming begin to make sense as you see them on the page. Journaling can reveal patterns you never noticed, triggers, recurring fears, hidden strengths that help you better understand yourself. It also creates distance between you and your struggles. Instead of being consumed by them, you are observing them, processing them, and releasing them little by little. This shift in perspective is powerful because it shows that you are not your depression. You are someone navigating through it. The beauty of journaling is that it adapts to you. Some days you might write a page of raw emotion, other days just a single sentence of gratitude or a list of small victories. There are no rules, only the practice of letting what is inside find its way out. Each entry becomes a stepping stone toward healing, proof that you are engaging with your emotions rather than burying them. Over time, the pages you fill reflect not just struggle, but growth, resilience, and the quiet strength of someone choosing to face their truth through words. Connection heals. Share your truth with someone safe. Depression often convinces you that you are alone, that no one could possibly understand the weight you carry, but isolation only deepens the pain. Human beings are wired for connection, and healing often begins the moment you allow yourself to be seen and heard. Sharing your truth with someone safe, whether it's a close friend, a family member, a mentor, or a therapist, creates space for your emotions to exist outside of you. The act of speaking lifts some of the heaviness because your struggles are no longer locked inside your mind alone. When you open up, you give another person the chance to support you, to listen without judgment, and to remind you that you are not as isolated as depression makes you believe. Safe connection is not about fixing problems instantly. It's about being met with understanding, compassion, and presence. Even a single heartfelt conversation can shift the way you see yourself, replacing shame with acceptance and hopelessness with the comfort of belonging. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is courage, and every time you share your truth, you reclaim a piece of your power. Connection also creates accountability and encouragement. When someone knows what you are going through, they can walk beside you, remind you of your strength on the days you forget, and celebrate the progress you might not see in yourself. Choosing to share your truth does not mean exposing everything all at once. It can begin with a small step, a few honest words, or even a simple, "I'm struggling today." Each act of openness builds trust and strengthens the bond that reminds you healing is not a journey you have to walk alone, because safe connection is medicine for the soul. Laughter lightens the soul. Seek joy intentionally. Depression has a way of dimming even the brightest moments, convincing you that happiness is out of reach or undeserved. Yet laughter is one of the most powerful tools for breaking through that heaviness. It is a physical, emotional, and psychological release all at once. When you laugh, your body releases endorphins, natural chemicals that boost mood, reduce stress, and create a sense of well-being. Even a small smile or a chuckle can ripple through the mind and body, signaling that it is safe to experience lightness and pleasure again. Joy does not always appear spontaneously. It often needs to be pursued with intention. Seeking out moments that make you laugh, whether it's a funny movie, a playful conversation, or recalling a silly memory, becomes a form of self-care and resistance against the weight of depression. Laughter creates connection as well. Sharing humor with others reminds you that you are not alone in your struggles and that life still contains moments worth celebrating. In laughter, you find both release and renewal, a reminder that light can exist even in darkness. The act of intentionally seeking joy trains the mind to recognize pleasure again. It teaches the brain to notice humor, beauty, and delight in small moments that might otherwise go overlooked. It doesn't erase pain, but it provides a pause, a breath, a shift in perspective that opens the door for hope. Incorporating laughter into your daily life is a practice, a commitment to yourself that despite depression, you are choosing to invite light, warmth, and connection back into your world. Letting joy quietly reclaim space in your heart. Music shifts moods. Create playlists that lift. When depression takes hold, it often quiets the internal soundtrack of life, leaving silence, heaviness, or negative thoughts in its place. Music, however, has a unique power to reach directly into the mind and body, bypassing resistance and touching emotion in ways words often cannot. The melodies, rhythms, and harmonies we listen to can influence mood, energy, and even thought patterns. By consciously curating playlists that inspire, energize, or soothe, you create a tool for emotional regulation, a way to guide your mind toward feelings that support healing and resilience. Different types of music serve different purposes. Upbeat, rhythmic songs can energize and motivate, helping to break through lethargy or apathy that depression often brings. Calm ambient or instrumental tracks can soothe anxiety, slow racing thoughts, and promote relaxation. Even songs with lyrics that resonate with your own journey can offer validation, reminding you that you are not alone in your struggles. Singing along, tapping your feet, or even gentle humming engages the body, reinforcing the mind-body connection that is often weakened during depressive states. Music becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a form of self-care, a portable sanctuary for emotional release. Creating playlists also adds intention to listening. Instead of passively consuming whatever is available, you select songs with purpose, building a collection that can be turned to whenever needed. Morning motivation. Playlist can energize the start of your day. A calm and center playlist can help during moments of stress, and a celebrate small wins playlist can reinforce positive experiences and gratitude. This intentionality strengthens the sense of control over your emotional landscape, which depression often erodes. Over time, returning to these playlists trains your mind to associate certain sounds with comfort, energy, or hope, creating a neurological pathway that supports emotional balance. Music also fosters connection. Sharing songs that lift you with friends or loved ones can spark conversation, laughter, and shared experiences. Listening alongside others creates a sense of community, reminding you that joy and expression are not solitary experiences. By curating and engaging with music intentionally, you harness a powerful, accessible tool to shift moods, release tension, and invite lightness into moments that might otherwise feel heavy. Offering a subtle but profound method of emotional healing and resilience. Break goals into small wins. Celebrate progress daily. Depression can make even simple tasks feel monumental, and when the mind is clouded with hopelessness, thinking about big goals can feel paralyzing. Attempting to tackle everything at once often leads to overwhelm and discouragement, reinforcing the negative thought patterns that depression thrives on. Breaking goals into small, manageable steps creates a roadmap that is realistic, tangible, and motivating. Each step, no matter how minor it seems, becomes an opportunity to prove to yourself that progress is possible, and that you are capable of movement forward, even when the path feels steep. Small wins are powerful because they create momentum. Completing one tiny task generates a sense of accomplishment, releasing dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. This release not only boosts mood, but also reinforces motivation, making the next step easier to take. For someone battling depression, these micro successes are crucial. They act as reminders that effort matters, that action produces results, and that change is gradual but achievable. Even something as simple as making your bed, sending an email, or taking a short walk counts. Each completed step chips away at inertia, replacing feelings of helplessness with tangible evidence of your capability. Celebrating progress daily is equally important. Acknowledgement doesn't have to be grand. It can be a private smile, a journal entry, or a moment of reflection. The key is to recognize effort, not just outcomes, and to honor each step forward as part of the journey. This practice shifts focus from what remains undone to what has been accomplished. training the brain to notice achievement rather than deficiency. Over time, these celebrations reinforce resilience, build confidence, and cultivate a mindset oriented toward growth. Breaking goals into small wins also allows for flexibility and self-compassion. Life with depression is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable. By focusing on incremental progress, you create a structure that accommodates both effort and rest, persistence and pause. Each micro-success becomes a building block for larger goals, a steady rhythm of forward movement that proves healing is possible, that resilience grows one step at a time, and that even in the shadow of depression, momentum can be created and sustained through intentional, manageable action. Meditation trains presence. Silence is strength. Depression often pulls the mind into the past or the future, replaying regrets, worries, and what-ifs that drain energy and intensify feelings of hopelessness. Meditation offers a refuge from this mental turbulence by training attention to return to the present moment where life actually exists. It is not about emptying the mind completely or forcing thoughts away. Rather, it is about observing them without judgment, letting them pass like clouds in the sky. In this observation, a quiet space emerges, a space where clarity, peace, and perspective begin to grow. Even amid emotional pain, the practice of meditation strengthens the mind's ability to respond instead of react. When you pause, focus on your breath, or bring awareness to sensations in your body, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes relaxation and counters the stress response that depression often exaggerates. This physiological shift allows the brain to calm the flood of negative thoughts and creates room for introspection, self-compassion, and problem-solving. Even a few minutes daily can have profound effects on mood regulation, emotional resilience, and mental clarity. Over time, the mind becomes more stable, less reactive, and more capable of experiencing the subtle joys and calm moments that depression can make feel invisible. Silence in meditation is not emptiness, it is strength. In stillness, you learn to listen to your body, your breath, and the quiet whispers of your inner wisdom. It trains patience and presence, helping you recognize that even uncomfortable emotions are temporary and manageable. Meditation also cultivates awareness of patterns. Noticing recurring thoughts, emotional triggers, and habitual reactions allows you to respond consciously rather than being swept away by old habits. This awareness is empowering because it demonstrates that you are not at the mercy of depression. You can observe, adjust, and reclaim control over your mental landscape. Meditation can take many forms: sitting quietly, walking mindfully, focusing on the breath, or listening to guided practices. Consistency is more important than duration. A few mindful minutes daily create cumulative benefits that ripple through every area of life. As the practice deepens, moments of silence become a sanctuary, a place of refuge where the mind can rest, recharge, and rebuild. In this cultivated stillness, you discover that presence is not passive. It is a powerful tool for clarity, resilience, and emotional balance, a skill that grows stronger with each intentional pause, grounding you firmly in the life unfolding before you. Service uplifts. Helping others heals you too. When depression makes the world feel heavy, dark, and isolating, reaching beyond yourself to support someone else creates a surprising shift in perspective. Acts of service, no matter how small, redirect focus from internal pain to external purpose. They remind you that your life has value, that your actions matter, and that even in your struggles, you possess the capacity to make a difference. This outward focus interrupts the self-absorbing cycles that depression thrives on, replacing them with connection, empathy, and meaningful engagement. Helping others triggers profound psychological and physiological responses. Research shows that altruistic behavior increases endorphins, reduces stress, and activates reward pathways in the brain, giving a sense of fulfillment and happiness that cannot be manufactured from isolation or inactivity. Even small gestures, listening to a friend in need, volunteering for a local cause, or offering kindness to a stranger create ripples of positivity. Each act of service reminds the mind and body that you are capable, competent, and valuable, countering the feelings of worthlessness that depression often amplifies. Service also fosters connection and community. When you help others, you build relationships rooted in trust, gratitude, and mutual support. These social bonds are crucial for emotional resilience, as they provide encouragement, understanding, and a sense of belonging. Depression thrives on isolation, but service breaks that pattern by creating purpose-driven interaction. Over time, consistent acts of giving reinforce a sense of identity that is not defined by struggle, but by contribution, compassion, and impact. Engaging in service also nurtures perspective. Witnessing challenges outside your own, seeing resilience in others, and participating in collective efforts can shift the lens through which you view your life. It highlights strengths you might have overlooked and inspires hope through the tangible difference you make. The act of lifting someone else often lifts you in return, creating a cycle of empowerment and emotional replenishment. Through service, depression's grip loosens, replaced by a quiet but steady sense of meaning, purpose, and the restorative power of helping hands. Compassionate hearts and shared human experience limit toxins, reduce alcohol, sugar, and overstimulation. Depression often clouds judgment, making it tempting to seek quick fixes in substances or habits that provide temporary relief but ultimately worsen mental health. Alcohol, for example, may seem like a way to escape, but it depresses the central nervous system, disrupts sleep, and impairs the body's natural ability to regulate mood. Excess sugar spikes blood glucose and insulin levels, leading to crashes that intensify fatigue, irritability, and low motivation. Overstimulation from screens, social media, and constant notifications bombards the brain with information it cannot process, increasing anxiety, mental fatigue, and feelings of overwhelm. Each of these toxins feeds the very cycles that depression relies on, making it harder to regain clarity, energy, and emotional balance. Reducing toxins is not about strict deprivation. It is about creating an environment that supports healing and resilience. When you consciously limit alcohol, you allow your nervous system to stabilize and your body to process stress and emotion naturally. Reducing sugar intake regulates energy, sharpens focus, and diminishes mood swings, creating a steadier foundation for mental clarity. Managing overstimulation gives your mind space to breathe, process experiences, and engage with life intentionally rather than reacting compulsively to endless digital input. Together, these choices reinforce the idea that what you consume, both physically and mentally, directly affects how you feel. Making these changes requires awareness and small, consistent steps. Swap sugary snacks for whole foods that nourish, replace late-night scrolling with quiet reflection or reading, and moderate alcohol consumption while seeking healthier alternatives for relaxation. Mindful choices around consumption strengthen discipline and self-respect, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of supporting your own well-being. The act of reducing toxins is also symbolic. It is a commitment to yourself, a tangible way of reclaiming control in a life that depression often makes feel uncontrollable. By limiting harmful substances and inputs, you create space for the body and mind to heal, for natural energy to return, and for emotional balance to emerge as a foundation for long-term resilience, clarity, and strength. Affirmations reprogram thought. Speak life into yourself. Depression often traps the mind in cycles of negative self-talk, repeating messages of inadequacy, hopelessness, and fear. These internal narratives shape perception, influencing behavior, emotions, and even physical health. Affirmations, however, are deliberate statements of truth and possibility that challenge and replace these destructive patterns. By consistently speaking positive, empowering words to yourself, you begin to retrain your brain, creating new neural pathways that reinforce resilience, self-worth, and hope. Each affirmation is a seed planted in the mind, capable of growing into confidence, clarity, and emotional strength. Over time. The power of affirmations lies not in naive optimism, but in intentional repetition and belief. Saying, "I am capable," "I am worthy," or "I can face today with courage," may feel awkward at first, especially when depression whispers otherwise. Yet, the nervous system responds to repeated input, and even when belief is partial, the act of speaking life into yourself begins to shift perception. Over time, the mind starts to internalize these statements, weakening the influence of negative self-talk and fostering a more constructive, compassionate inner dialogue. Affirmations are most effective when paired with presence, breath, and emotional engagement, transforming words into lived experience rather than empty repetition. Affirmations also cultivate mindfulness and self-awareness. By consciously choosing the language you use internally, you become more attuned to harmful patterns as they arise, catching self-criticism before it spirals. You are no longer a passive observer of negative thought. You are an active participant in reshaping your mental landscape. Writing affirmations in a journal, repeating them in front of a mirror, or integrating them into meditation and daily routines reinforces this new neural programming, embedding positivity into subconscious thinking. In addition, affirmations strengthen emotional resilience. When challenges arise, these practice statements serve as anchors, reminding you of your capacity, worth, and inner resources. They empower you to respond rather than react, to approach life with intention rather than resignation. Each affirmation is a tool, a gentle but persistent reminder that you have the ability to influence your thoughts, emotions, and ultimately your experience of life. By speaking life into yourself consistently, you nurture a mindset capable of rising above the shadows of depression, fostering hope, courage, and self-compassion that grows stronger with every intentional word. Creative expression liberates pain. Paint, sing, dance, write. Depression often traps emotions inside, creating a weight that words alone cannot always release. Engaging in creative practices provides a channel for these feelings, allowing the mind and body to process, transform, and express what is otherwise trapped. Whether through the brushstrokes of a painting, the rhythm of a dance, the melody of a song, or the flow of writing, creative expression externalizes internal struggles, turning invisible tension into visible, tangible forms. This act of creation is both cathartic and empowering, giving voice to emotions that have long been silenced. The beauty of creative expression is that it requires no judgment or perfection. It is not about producing a masterpiece. It is about the process itself, the deliberate engagement with your inner world. When you paint, you channel color and movement as an extension of emotion. When you write, you translate thoughts and feelings into language that releases tension from the mind. When you dance or sing, your body becomes an instrument for expression, releasing energy and emotion in ways that words alone cannot. Each act of creation reminds you that you are capable of transformation, that the energy of pain can be redirected into something meaningful, even beautiful. Engaging in creativity also fosters mindfulness and presence. In the act of creating, your focus shifts away from rumination and toward the immediate moment, grounding you in sensory experience and flow. The repetitive motions of brush, pen, or movement quiet mental chatter, creating space for insight and emotional release. Over time, these practices strengthen emotional resilience by showing that you can navigate difficult feelings without being overwhelmed by them. Creativity becomes a mirror reflecting not only pain but also strength, resourcefulness, and hope. Creative expression also connects you to others, even indirectly. Sharing your art, music, writing, or performance creates a bridge between personal experience and communal understanding, fostering connection and empathy. It allows others to witness your journey and can inspire mutual healing. Whether private or shared, regular engagement with creative outlets cultivates a habit of honoring emotions, transforming struggle into growth, and finding beauty and meaning in the midst of depression, showing that expression itself can be a powerful act of liberation, healing, and self-discovery. Boundaries protect energy. Say no without guilt. Depression often magnifies feelings of obligation and pressure, making it difficult to prioritize your own needs without shame or fear of judgment. When you overextend yourself, agree to demands that drain you, or sacrifice your well-being to please others, you create a cycle of exhaustion, resentment, and emotional depletion. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is an essential act of self-preservation. By clearly defining what you will and will not accept, you protect your energy, safeguard your mental health, and create space for healing and growth. Learning to say no is a skill that requires practice and self-awareness. It involves recognizing your limits, understanding your priorities, and communicating them with clarity and compassion. Saying no does not make you unkind or uncaring. It signals respect for yourself and for the quality of the interactions and commitments you do choose to engage in. Each time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce the message that your needs matter, that your time and energy are valuable, and that it is possible to live with integrity while maintaining emotional balance. Boundaries also serve as a tool for emotional regulation. Depression often amplifies vulnerability to stress, and interactions that feel overwhelming or demanding can trigger negative thought patterns, anxiety, and fatigue. By setting limits, you reduce unnecessary exposure to energy-draining situations, allowing your mind to recover, process, and rebuild resilience. Boundaries create structure and predictability, which support mental clarity and emotional stability, offering a sense of control that is often lost when depression dominates your life. Establishing boundaries does not have to be confrontational or rigid. It can begin with small, manageable steps, declining a social invitation, pausing before responding to requests, or protecting quiet time for rest and reflection. Over time, these practices cultivate confidence, self-respect, and inner strength. Boundaries also improve the quality of your relationships as they encourage open communication, mutual respect, and understanding. By learning to say no without guilt, you empower yourself to live intentionally, conserve your energy, and prioritize actions and connections that truly support your well-being, creating a sustainable path toward emotional resilience and recovery. Perspective shifts power. Focus on what you can control. Depression often amplifies feelings of helplessness, making challenges appear larger than they are and creating the illusion that nothing can change. The mind becomes consumed by worries about the past or fears of the future, leaving little space for clarity or action. Shifting perspective means consciously redirecting attention from what is beyond your influence to what is within your control. This shift is not denial, it is empowerment. By identifying the aspects of life where you can act, you reclaim a sense of agency and begin to dismantle the paralyzing grip of despair. Focusing on what you can control begins with awareness. Take stock of your thoughts, habits, and immediate environment. While you may not control external events, you can control your responses, your self-talk, and the choices you make each day. Small, deliberate actions, deciding to exercise, practice gratitude, reach out for support, or engage in a creative activity, may seem minor, but they generate momentum, reinforcing the belief that change is possible. Each step taken within your sphere of influence strengthens resilience, builds confidence, and nurtures hope, gradually counteracting the inertia that depression often imposes. Perspective also involves reframing challenges. Instead of focusing on the magnitude of obstacles, consider what can be learned, adjusted, or managed in the moment. By separating what is actionable from what is not, you conserve energy, reduce anxiety, and create a plan for moving forward. This clarity allows for intentional decision-making rather than reactive behavior driven by fear or overwhelm. It reminds you that even amidst uncertainty, you retain the power to influence outcomes through mindful choices and consistent effort. Shifting perspective is both a mindset and a practice. Daily reflection, journaling, and meditation can help reinforce this habit, training the mind to notice what is controllable and to let go of what is not. Over time, this approach builds emotional resilience, reduces feelings of powerlessness, and cultivates a sense of calm authority over your life. By consistently focusing on what you can control, you create a foundation for action, growth, and healing. transforming depression's sense of limitation into a pathway for empowerment and self-mastery. Cold showers awaken, shock the body, spark vitality. At first, the idea may feel uncomfortable, even intimidating, especially when depression has dulled energy, motivation, and zest for life. Yet stepping under cold water delivers an immediate physical jolt that signals the body to awaken, increases alertness, and ignites the nervous system. The initial shock triggers a surge of adrenaline and endorphins, chemicals that elevate mood, heighten focus, and reduce the heaviness that depression often imposes. What begins as a simple act of self-discipline quickly transforms into a ritual of empowerment, reminding you that you have the capacity to face discomfort and emerge stronger. The benefits of cold exposure extend beyond the initial rush. Physiologically, cold showers improve circulation, stimulate the immune system, and increase oxygen intake, all of which support energy levels and overall health. Mentally, they teach resilience by placing you in a controlled situation where discomfort is temporary and manageable. Each time you endure the cold, your mind strengthens, your tolerance for stress grows, and your confidence in facing challenges increases. The simple act of turning the knob and stepping into icy water becomes a metaphor for life. You can confront discomfort, adapt, and find strength on the other side. Cold showers also foster mindfulness and presence. The intense physical sensations demand attention, drawing the mind away from rumination, self-doubt, and anxious thoughts. The focus required to breathe steadily, brace against the cold, and embrace the moment interrupts cycles of negative thinking and creates space for clarity and calm. This sensory engagement serves as a form of active meditation where the body and mind align in response to immediate stimuli, reinforcing awareness, grounding, and mental control. Incorporating cold showers into a daily routine transforms them into a ritual of renewal and empowerment. Over time, the practice signals to the nervous system that stress can be managed, fatigue can be countered, and energy can be renewed through intentional action. It is not merely a physical practice, it is a mental and emotional training ground, building courage, resilience, and vitality with each immersion. The shock of cold becomes a powerful reminder that even in the midst of depression, small, intentional actions can spark energy, restore clarity, and cultivate a sense of aliveness that spreads beyond the shower into every aspect of life. Forgiveness frees the heart. Release what weighs you down. Depression often carries with it a heavy burden of past hurts, regrets, and resentments. These emotional weights can linger quietly, but their presence shapes thought patterns, limits perspective, and drains energy. Holding on to anger, bitterness, or grudges keeps the mind tethered to past events, replaying scenarios over and over while convincing you that healing is impossible. Forgiveness, however, is not about excusing wrongdoing or condoning harmful behavior. It is a conscious decision to release the emotional grip these experiences have on your life. When you choose to forgive, you are reclaiming power that was inadvertently handed to pain, resentment, and bitterness. The act of forgiving begins internally. It starts with acknowledging your feelings honestly, anger, disappointment, sadness, or betrayal, without judgment. Suppression or denial of these emotions prolongs suffering, while recognition creates a foundation for processing and release. Forgiveness is a practice of conscious letting go. By deciding to release the hold that past wounds have over your mind and heart, you create space for emotional healing, clarity, and inner peace. This release does not mean forgetting or pretending nothing happened. Rather, it is a declaration that your present and future are more important than the chains of yesterday. Forgiveness also has profound physiological benefits. Research shows that holding on to anger and resentment increases stress hormones, elevates blood pressure, and negatively impacts immune function. Releasing grudges through forgiveness reduces these physiological stressors, promoting relaxation, improving mood, and supporting overall health. Mentally, forgiveness interrupts cycles of rumination and obsessive thinking that depression often amplifies. When you forgive, You are actively shifting attention away from what cannot be changed and toward what you can influence: your own emotional state, your peace of mind, and your capacity to engage fully with life. Practicing forgiveness is often gradual and may require multiple steps. Journaling letters that you may or may not send, meditating on letting go, speaking affirmations of release, or engaging in therapeutic dialogue can all support the process. Forgiveness is also self-directed. Forgiving yourself for perceived failures, mistakes, or past choices is equally vital. Self-forgiveness restores self-esteem, reinforces self-compassion, and reduces the guilt or shame that depression frequently magnifies. In both cases, the act of forgiving is a conscious reclaiming of emotional freedom, a way to disentangle yourself from the weight of negative experiences, and an opportunity to cultivate a heart that is lighter, more resilient, and capable of embracing life fully. The power of forgiveness extends beyond the individual. By releasing resentment, you improve the quality of your relationships, foster empathy, and create a ripple effect of understanding and compassion in your interactions with others. It also allows for more authentic connections, as the energy formerly consumed by holding on is redirected toward growth, joy, and meaningful engagement. Through forgiveness, depression's grip on the heart loosens, replaced by a sense of liberation, clarity, and emotional spaciousness, offering a path toward healing that is profound, enduring, and transformative. Declutter your space. Clear outside, clear inside. Depression often manifests as mental clutter, a fog of thoughts, worries, and indecision that weighs heavily on the mind. Surprisingly, your physical environment can mirror and influence this inner state. When surroundings are chaotic, disorganized, or filled with unnecessary items, it subtly reinforces feelings of overwhelm, lethargy, and anxiety. Clutter becomes a silent stressor, constantly signaling the brain that there is work undone, responsibilities unmet, or chaos to manage. By intentionally clearing your physical space, you create an environment that promotes calm, focus, and mental clarity, laying the groundwork for emotional and psychological healing. The process of decluttering begins with awareness. It is not simply tidying superficially, but consciously evaluating each object in your surroundings, its purpose, its value, and its emotional impact. Items that no longer serve you, that drain energy, or that evoke negative memories can be removed, donated, or reorganized. This act of making space is symbolic as well as practical. It represents a choice to let go of what weighs you down and to make room for growth, positivity, and new possibilities. Every object released from your environment can feel like a burden lifted from your mind, signaling to your brain that simplification and order are possible. Decluttering also fosters intentionality. As you organize your space, you make decisions about what is important, useful, or inspiring. This practice can extend to digital clutter, emails, files, and unfinished projects, all of which contribute to mental fatigue and distraction. When the external world is simplified, the mind experiences less friction and sensory overload, allowing focus, creativity, and motivation to return. Even small steps like cleaning a desk, clearing a drawer, or arranging a bookshelf can create a measurable sense of accomplishment and control, reinforcing self-efficacy and combating feelings of helplessness often associated with depression. The benefits of decluttering extend to emotional well-being. An orderly space encourages relaxation, restful sleep, and mindful presence, all of which support recovery from depressive states. It reduces decision fatigue, eases anxiety, and creates an environment where positivity can thrive. Decluttering also cultivates discipline and consistency, habits that strengthen resilience and reinforce the belief that deliberate effort can transform circumstances. Over time, a clean, organized space becomes a reflection of an organized mind, promoting clarity, calm, and a sense of empowerment. By taking charge of your environment, you are actively shaping conditions that foster inner peace, renewed energy, and the psychological freedom to engage with life intentionally, demonstrating that clearing the outside is a powerful step toward clearing the inside. Celebrate small joys. Find magic in the ordinary. Depression often narrows perception, making life feel grey, monotonous, and devoid of meaning. The mind becomes preoccupied with pain, regrets, or worries, and even simple pleasures can go unnoticed. Yet within ordinary moments, morning sunlight filtering through a window, the aroma of coffee, the warmth of a soft blanket, there lies a quiet magic capable of lifting mood and restoring a sense of wonder. Recognizing and celebrating these small joys is a deliberate act of mindfulness and self-compassion, a way to counteract the pervasive negativity and cultivate a more balanced, resilient mindset. The practice of noticing small joys begins with attention. Depression can make the brain habitually filter out positive stimuli, focusing instead on deficits, discomforts, or losses. By intentionally pausing to observe beauty, comfort, and pleasure in daily life, you retrain your mind to notice what is good, nurturing a sense of gratitude and presence. Even the briefest moments, a smile from a stranger, a song that resonates, a fleeting feeling of warmth or laughter, carry transformative potential. These experiences are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of emotional resilience, each one subtly reinforcing the capacity for joy and the awareness that life still holds moments worth living. Celebrating small joys also strengthens emotional regulation. By focusing on positive experiences, no matter how minor, you counteract the brain's tendency to dwell on negativity, reducing rumination and the intensity of depressive thoughts. Journaling small pleasures, sharing moments of happiness with others, or simply pausing to savor a single sensory experience creates a habit of acknowledgement that reinforces positivity. This deliberate recognition of joy trains the mind to find meaning in the present moment, rather than waiting for grand events or dramatic changes to feel alive. Incorporating small celebrations into daily life nurtures gratitude, presence, and hope. It is a reminder that healing and contentment often emerge not from extraordinary circumstances, but from the consistent recognition of beauty, wonder, and comfort in the everyday. These micro moments of joy can accumulate, creating a ripple effect that transforms perception, builds resilience, and fosters emotional strength. Over time, this practice cultivates an awareness that even amidst depression, life offers pockets of delight, meaning, and vitality, showing that the ordinary can be extraordinary when approached with intention and a heart willing to notice, appreciate, and embrace each fleeting moment of light and possibility. Seek growth daily. Read, learn, and expand your mind. Depression often narrows focus, making it difficult to envision possibility, pursue goals, or engage with life beyond immediate struggles. The mind can become trapped in cycles of negative thinking, self-doubt, and hopelessness, creating a sense that personal development is unattainable. Yet growth is both a remedy and a pathway forward. By intentionally seeking to learn, read, and explore new ideas each day, you activate curiosity, stimulate the brain, and create momentum toward resilience, clarity, and renewed purpose. Small, consistent efforts to expand your mind serve as acts of empowerment, reminding you that even amidst depression, progress is possible and your potential is not fixed. Reading is a powerful tool for growth because it introduces new perspectives, ideas, and knowledge that challenge habitual thinking. Whether exploring self-help, philosophy, science, or literature, books offer insight, inspiration, and strategies for navigating life's challenges. Reading stimulates neural pathways, enhances cognitive flexibility, and encourages reflection. It also provides a sense of companionship and connection, as the words of authors or characters resonate with your own experiences, validating emotions and offering guidance. Engaging with diverse viewpoints expands understanding, helping to break mental patterns of stagnation and despair that depression often reinforces. Learning is another vital aspect of daily growth. Actively acquiring new skills or knowledge fosters a sense of accomplishment and agency, countering feelings of inadequacy or helplessness. Learning can take many forms: listening to audiobooks, attending online courses, practicing a craft, or exploring a new hobby. Each step forward, no matter how small, strengthens self-efficacy, reinforces discipline, and provides tangible evidence that you are capable of change. The process of learning also encourages adaptability, creativity, and problem-solving, all of which support mental resilience and emotional regulation in the face of depression. Expanding your mind goes beyond formal learning. It includes curiosity, reflection, and openness to new experiences. Engaging in stimulating conversations, exploring unfamiliar environments, or challenging assumptions nurtures intellectual and emotional growth. Growth is a cumulative process where small daily actions compound to create significant transformation over time. By committing to daily expansion, you cultivate a mindset of possibility, curiosity, and resilience. It reminds you that you are not defined by limitations imposed by depression, but by your willingness to engage, explore, and evolve continually. Each act of learning, reading, or exploring adds depth, perspective, and strength to your inner world, empowering you to navigate challenges, embrace opportunity, and reclaim a sense of control, purpose, and vitality in life. Breathing fresh air clears mental fog. Step outside often. Depression can create a sense of heaviness and confusion, making thoughts feel sluggish, decisions overwhelming, and focus nearly impossible. When the mind is clouded, even small tasks can seem monumental, and the body may feel trapped in inertia. One of the simplest yet most profound ways to counter this fog is to step outside and breathe deeply. Fresh air revitalizes both body and mind, stimulating the senses, increasing oxygen flow, and reconnecting you to the rhythms of the natural world. This connection acts as a reset, providing clarity, energy, and a renewed sense of presence that artificial environments often fail to offer. The benefits of stepping outdoors go beyond just oxygen intake. Sunlight, natural sights, and subtle sounds engage the sensory system, pulling attention away from internal rumination and toward the present moment. Trees, grass, and open skies create a calming backdrop that signals safety and stability to the nervous system, lowering stress hormones and reducing anxiety. Even brief exposure, walking around the block, sitting on a balcony, or leaning out a window, offers measurable improvements in mood and alertness. Nature provides a gentle yet consistent stimulus that encourages the brain to shift from patterns of negative thinking to patterns of awareness, mindfulness, and mental clarity. Fresh air also energizes the body physically, which in turn supports mental resilience. Oxygen, rich air nourishes the brain, improving concentration, memory, and cognitive function, while light physical activity like walking or stretching outdoors increases endorphin production. These biochemical changes elevate mood and reduce the lethargy and heaviness that depression often imposes. Incorporating intentional outdoor time into your daily routine trains the body and mind to associate movement and natural exposure with rejuvenation, creating a positive feedback loop that strengthens both emotional and physical well-being. Stepping outside frequently also fosters a sense of freedom and perspective. Being outdoors, even in familiar surroundings, can make problems feel less constricted and overwhelming, reminding you that life extends beyond the four walls of your immediate environment. Fresh air carries a subtle invitation to engage with the world, to move, breathe, and notice small details, the rustle of leaves, the pattern of clouds, the warmth of sunlight, which together cultivate gratitude, awareness, and calm. By consciously choosing to step outside and breathe deeply, you create a natural, accessible ritual that clears mental fog, revitalizes energy, and nurtures both clarity and resilience, allowing the mind to regain balance, focus, and a renewed sense of aliveness each day. Mindful rituals ground you. Morning or night routines matter. Depression often disrupts daily structure, leaving life feeling chaotic, purposeless, or overwhelming. In such states, even small decisions can feel exhausting, and the mind can easily slip into cycles of rumination and despair. Mindful routines, however, act as anchors, offering predictability, stability, and a sense of control in the midst of emotional turbulence. By establishing intentional practices at the start or end of each day, You create a framework that supports both mental and physical well-being, fosters self-discipline, and reinforces the capacity for resilience and emotional balance. Morning routines set the tone for the day. Starting the day with deliberate actions, such as stretching, meditating, journaling, or enjoying a nourishing breakfast, signals to the body and mind that the day is a space for intentionality rather than chaos. Even brief practices, like taking 3 deep breaths before rising or setting an intention for the day, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, promote clarity, and reduce anxiety. Engaging in morning rituals helps shift the focus away from negative thoughts that often dominate upon waking, replacing them with structured, purposeful activity that cultivates calm and preparedness. Each consistent action builds momentum, creating a sense of accomplishment and reinforcing the belief that you can influence your own experience. Even when depression attempts to diminish motivation and energy, nighttime rituals are equally vital, providing closure, reflection, and recovery. Evening routines such as reviewing the day in a journal, practicing gratitude, gentle stretching, or unplugging from digital devices signal to the body that it is time to rest and restore. Mindful night practices reduce mental clutter, improve sleep quality, and regulate the nervous system, which is essential for emotional and cognitive health. Depression often disrupts circadian rhythms, leading to insomnia or restless sleep, and a consistent night ritual helps stabilize these patterns. By incorporating relaxation and reflection into the evening, you create a transition from the stresses of the day to a state of calm, replenishment, and readiness for restorative sleep. Mindful rituals also foster self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Through consistent practice, you become more attuned to your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations, noticing patterns that may exacerbate depressive tendencies. Routines provide opportunities to practice coping strategies, like breathing exercises, affirmations, or visualization, which strengthen resilience over time. They offer a safe space to process emotions, recognize achievements, and cultivate self-compassion. The repetition of rituals reinforces neural pathways associated with positive habits, emotional regulation, and mindfulness, gradually rewiring the brain to respond more adaptively to stress and negative thoughts. The beauty of mindful routines lies in their flexibility and personalization. They do not require extensive time, resources, or complexity. What matters is intentionality. Even small, consistent acts such as making your bed, sipping tea mindfully, reading a few pages, or stepping outside for fresh air can become grounding rituals. These practices cultivate a sense of order, stability, and purpose, countering the chaos and inertia that depression often imposes. Over time, the consistent integration of mindful routines into morning and night not only strengthens mental, emotional, and physical health but also instills a profound sense of presence, resilience, and self-empowerment, demonstrating that deliberate, intentional actions can transform the ordinary flow of each day into a foundation for healing, balance, and sustainable well-being. Limit screens. Trade scrolling for living. In the modern world, screens dominate nearly every aspect of daily life, from social media and emails to streaming services and news feeds. While technology offers convenience and connection, excessive screen time can exacerbate depression, anxiety, and mental fatigue. Endless scrolling, notifications, and digital overstimulation overload the mind, fragment attention, and reinforce negative thought patterns. The passive consumption of information often leads to comparison, self-criticism, and a sense of inadequacy, which feeds the cycle of low mood and lethargy. By intentionally reducing screen time, you reclaim your attention, energy, and mental clarity, creating space for presence, real-world engagement, and emotional restoration. One of the most immediate benefits of limiting screens is improved mental focus. When the brain is constantly bombarded by digital stimuli, it becomes difficult to sustain attention or engage meaningfully with the world. Reducing exposure allows the mind to slow down, process thoughts more effectively, and regain cognitive control. This shift is particularly important for those dealing with depression, as excessive screen use often promotes rumination, negative self-talk, and feelings of overwhelm. By consciously setting limits on screen time, you create mental breathing room, giving the brain the opportunity to recharge, prioritize, and respond rather than react automatically to constant digital input. Physical health is also impacted by screen habits. Prolonged screen exposure reduces movement, disrupts sleep patterns, and strains the eyes and posture. Late-night scrolling, in particular, interferes with circadian rhythms, diminishing the quality of restorative sleep and leaving the mind more vulnerable to depressive symptoms. Substituting screen time with physical activity, like walking outdoors, stretching, or exercising, supports circulation, releases endorphins, and reconnects the body with the natural rhythms of movement. These actions are not just restorative physically, they also improve emotional well-being, reduce fatigue, and enhance energy, demonstrating the interconnectedness of body, mind, and lifestyle choices. Limiting screens encourages authentic presence and engagement in life. When attention is not perpetually pulled toward a device, you are free to experience the richness of everyday moments, conversations with loved ones, the sensation of a breeze on your skin, the taste of a meal, or the beauty of nature. These experiences foster mindfulness, gratitude, and a sense of fulfillment that digital interactions rarely replicate. The intentional replacement of passive scrolling with active living cultivates emotional resilience, strengthens relationships, and enhances self-awareness, all of which are critical for counteracting depressive tendencies. Implementing limits can be gradual and practical. Establishing specific times for checking emails or social media, using screen-free zones in the home, or designating certain hours for offline activities helps create structure and reinforces intentional living. Engaging in hobbies, creative projects, reading, or mindful reflection in place of screen time further enhances cognitive stimulation and emotional growth. Over time, these changes foster a balanced relationship with technology, transforming it from a source of distraction and emotional drain into a tool that serves purpose and enrichment. By trading excessive scrolling for mindful engagement in the real world, you reclaim your attention, energy, and vitality, creating the conditions for emotional clarity, personal growth, and the restorative experiences that nurture the mind, body, and spirit. Visualize healing, see yourself whole and thriving. Depression often distorts perception, convincing the mind that recovery is distant, unattainable, or impossible. The internal narrative becomes dominated by feelings of inadequacy, hopelessness, and stagnation, making it difficult to imagine a future in which well-being is possible. Visualization is a powerful tool that combats this mental fog by engaging the imagination to create a vivid, detailed picture of health, strength, and emotional balance. When practiced intentionally, it allows the brain to experience a version of reality where healing has already occurred, reinforcing motivation, hope, and a sense of agency in the present. The process of visualization begins with focus and imagination. Find a quiet space and close your eyes, allowing the mind to settle. Picture yourself in a state of wellness, physically energized, emotionally balanced, and mentally clear. Imagine your body functioning optimally, your mind free from the weight of depression, and your emotions flowing with calm, positivity, and resilience. Include as many details as possible: how you move, the activities you engage in, the people around you, the environment, and even the sensations you feel. The brain responds to detailed imagery as if it were real, creating neural patterns that reinforce the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional states associated with well-being, making them more accessible in daily life. Visualization also strengthens emotional resilience. Depression often triggers avoidance and fear, which reinforces feelings of powerlessness. By repeatedly imagining yourself overcoming challenges, Managing emotions effectively and thriving despite obstacles, you train the mind to anticipate success and approach difficulties with confidence. Visualization cultivates a proactive mindset, emphasizing possibility over limitation and replacing the internal narrative of helplessness with one of empowerment and capability. The practice serves as a rehearsal for real-life action, subtly influencing thoughts, choices, and behaviors to align with the positive outcomes you envision. Incorporating visualization into daily routines magnifies its effectiveness. Morning sessions can set an empowering tone for the day, while evening sessions can reinforce progress, reflection, and gratitude. Combining visualization with other techniques, such as deep breathing, affirmations, or journaling, enhances focus and emotional impact, creating a multisensory experience that deeply imprints on the mind. Over time, these repeated exercises build a stronger connection between intention and action, enabling the subconscious mind to support conscious efforts toward healing, energy restoration, and personal growth. Visualization also enhances motivation and goal attainment. Seeing yourself thriving creates a mental template that guides decision-making, prioritizes self-care, and inspires consistent effort toward recovery. The imagination becomes a laboratory where possibilities are explored, strengths are recognized, and solutions to challenges are rehearsed. As this practice becomes habitual, it nurtures hope, confidence, and a sense of purpose, reminding you that even when depression clouds perception, the mind has the capacity to create a vision of wholeness and vitality, reinforcing belief in your own ability to heal, grow, and flourish in life. Self-compassion builds resilience. Be gentle with your journey. Depression often fills the mind with relentless criticism, self-blame, and unrealistic expectations. Each perceived failure or setback becomes a justification for harsh judgment, reinforcing the narrative that you are inadequate, incapable, or unworthy. This internal hostility deepens emotional pain and drains motivation, making recovery seem unattainable. Self-compassion, however, offers a radically different approach. It involves treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding you would extend to a loved one facing difficulty. By nurturing a compassionate inner voice, you create a foundation for resilience, emotional regulation, and sustainable healing. The practice of self-compassion begins with awareness. It requires noticing when the mind is steeped in harsh criticism or unrealistic expectations without immediately acting on these thoughts. Instead of suppressing or ignoring negativity, self-compassion encourages acknowledgement. I am struggling, and that is okay, followed by gentle reassurance and support. This approach transforms the internal dialogue from punitive to nurturing. By reframing mistakes, setbacks, or imperfections as part of the universal human experience, you reduce the isolating effects of depression and cultivate a sense of connectedness, both internally and externally. Self-compassion also strengthens emotional resilience. When you approach your challenges with gentleness rather than judgment, you reduce the intensity of negative emotions and allow space for reflection, problem-solving, and growth. Harsh self-criticism often triggers stress responses in the body, increasing cortisol levels and exacerbating feelings of fatigue, anxiety, or hopelessness. Compassionate self-talk, on the other hand, activates soothing pathways in the nervous system, promoting calm, balance, and clarity. By consistently practicing self-compassion, you train the mind to respond to difficulty with care and adaptability rather than fear and rigidity, enhancing your capacity to endure challenges without becoming overwhelmed. Incorporating self-compassion into daily life can take many forms. Journaling about struggles with a focus on understanding rather than judgment, practicing affirmations that reinforce worth and effort, or pausing during moments of self-criticism to breathe deeply and offer reassurance are all practical strategies. Mindfulness practices complement self-compassion by fostering non-judgmental awareness of thoughts and emotions, allowing you to observe challenges without becoming consumed by them. Over time, these small intentional acts build a cumulative effect, creating a resilient inner foundation that buffers against the destabilizing effects of depression. Self-compassion also influences behavior and goal setting. When you treat yourself with kindness, you are more likely to make choices that support well-being, prioritizing rest, nourishing the body, seeking support, or engaging in meaningful activity, rather than punishing yourself through neglect or overexertion. It encourages patience with progress, understanding that healing is rarely linear and that setbacks are part of the journey. By cultivating self-compassion, you create a mindset that fosters emotional endurance, self-acceptance, and proactive care, reinforcing the principle that being gentle with yourself is not weakness, but a powerful strategy for long-term resilience, growth, and thriving even in the presence of life's challenges. Hope is a daily choice. Hold on, light is ahead. Depression often convinces the mind that despair is permanent, that efforts to improve are futile, and that the future holds only darkness. This mental fog clouds perception, saps motivation, and distorts reality, making even small steps toward healing feel overwhelming. Yet hope is not a passive wish, it is an active, deliberate choice made each day. Choosing hope is an assertion of agency, a refusal to surrender to despair, and a commitment to believe that circumstances, feelings, and outcomes can change for the better. It is a mindset that empowers action, resilience, and perseverance. Even when the mind resists optimism, the practice of choosing hope begins with awareness of thought patterns. Depression often amplifies negative self-talk and catastrophic thinking, creating a distorted lens through which life is interpreted. Recognizing these patterns allows you to consciously challenge them and redirect attention to possibilities, strengths, and opportunities for growth. Hope does not require ignoring difficulties or pretending problems do not exist. Rather, it is a decision to focus on what is possible, to envision a future that includes recovery, progress, and moments of joy. This perspective shift transforms adversity from a permanent state into a temporary challenge that can be navigated, managed, and ultimately overcome. Hope is reinforced through action. Small, deliberate steps, seeking support, engaging in self-care, pursuing meaningful activities, or setting achievable goals serve as tangible expressions of optimism. Each step taken demonstrates that change is possible and reinforces the belief that effort matters. Celebrating progress, however minor, strengthens hope by providing concrete evidence that life can improve. This cyclical process, believing in possibility, taking action, witnessing results, creates momentum that counteracts the inertia and hopelessness depression often imposes. Over time, repeated choices to act in alignment with hope cultivate resilience, self-efficacy, and emotional stability. Hope is also nurtured by connection and perspective. Engaging with supportive individuals, sharing experiences, and witnessing the resilience of others reminds the mind that recovery and growth are achievable. Exposure to stories of perseverance, nature's beauty, or creative expression can reignite a sense of possibility and inspiration. Practicing gratitude for small moments, however fleeting, further reinforces hope by highlighting life's existing positives and potential for meaningful experiences. Mindfulness practices, affirmations, and visualization can deepen this sense of hope, allowing the mind to imagine not just survival but thriving, reinforcing the emotional and cognitive frameworks necessary for sustained optimism. Ultimately, hope is both a choice and a practice. It requires commitment, daily attention, and intentional action to cultivate, yet its impact on mental health and recovery is profound. By choosing hope each day, even when despair is loud, you nurture the belief that life can improve, that challenges are navigable, and that light exists even beyond the darkest moments. Hope empowers the mind to persist, the heart to endure, and the spirit to remain open to possibility, demonstrating that resilience, growth, and healing are always within reach when you consciously decide to hold on and embrace the promise of a brighter tomorrow. As we reach the close of this journey, remember that healing is not a single moment or a quick fix. It is a series of deliberate, Mindful choices that honor your mind, body, and spirit every step you take. Whether it is moving your body, breathing deeply, stepping outside into sunlight, expressing emotions creatively, or nurturing connections, adds momentum to your recovery. Small daily actions compound into lasting change, rewiring your thoughts, restoring energy, and cultivating resilience. You now carry a toolbox filled with practices that empower you: self-compassion, mindful routines, visualization, gratitude, affirmations, physical movement, and intentional engagement with life. These are not abstract concepts. They are actionable, repeatable, and within your control. By applying them consistently, you reclaim agency over your mental and emotional landscape, transforming the heaviness of depression into clarity, vitality, and hope. Healing without medication is a path of courage and patience. It asks you to be gentle with yourself, to celebrate small victories, and to approach each day with intention and presence. It reminds you that even amidst pain, joy, connection, and growth are possible. Every breath, every choice, every moment of awareness strengthens your capacity to thrive. The journey is ongoing, but now you are equipped to navigate it consciously, with tools to clear mental fog, regulate emotions, and nurture your inner light. Remember, depression does not define you. Your strength, resilience, and ability to heal do. Embrace these practices, trust in your capacity to change, and move forward each day with hope, courage, and the certainty that a brighter, balanced, and empowered life is within your reach.